last topic that we had was going to be based around a top 10 list that you gave me the idea for. So we're going to talk about our top 10 animes and cartoons, right?
Let's start with our bottom 5 out of the 10. So you want me? Should I go first?
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm really curious to hear what you got.
Okay, so at 10, I have Pokemon. We're gonna go with the original,
Okay.
probably first couple seasons because it's still going. I haven't watched it in like a decade, but we're gonna go with the first couple seasons.
Yeah.
9, I have the original Teen Titans.
Okay.
8, I have Static Shock.
Mm.
7, I have Hey Arnold.
Okay.
5, I have
No, 6.
oh no 6. Sorry, 6, I have Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, that'll round out my bottom 5. And by the way, this is just a completely nostalgia based personal list. This is not what I think the 10 best anime slash cartoon projects or entities are.
Okay.
Disclaimer.
And so this is, you said it's based on nostalgia, and is it in any way, is your top, at least the first 5, how do you feel like they kind of shaped you?
Uh I think Pokemon doesn't really have a large emotional impact on me for the most part, but it was just such a huge part of my life for basically its inception. Whether you want to talk about the actual anime or the games, uh, it's a huge part of my life. But it's just the quality isn't necessarily there. I don't think it's the best show to be perfectly honest. But so that's why I just had it number 10 just to have it. Teen Titans was kind of the same. I like vividly remember it coming out in like 4th and 5th grade and just how enamored I was by it. Static Shock is probably the largest impact of the bottom 5. I think that it had a lot of really interesting and impactful themes, and it was good for representation because it was one of the first, if not the first, lead black superhero that I had seen on
Yeah.
television.
Yeah.
And they weren't shy about his race or his culture or ethnicity, and they really leaned into that. So that was that. And Hey Arnold also had some good lessons on it as well, and just a really quality show from beginning to end. And Dragon Ball Z is, I mean, it's self-explanatory. It's
Yeah.
it's Dragon Ball Z. There's not a lot of emotional impact, but I mean, I guess believe in yourself is probably the biggest message you can get from Dragon Ball Z. And anything is
Yeah.
possible if you believe in yourself. But yeah,
Facts.
that's the reasoning behind my bottom 5. What about yours, man?
So I got a Family Guy coming in at number 10. Death Note, the anime, coming in at number 9. Pokemon made my number 8. I got Spongebob Squarepants at number 7.
Okay.
And number 6 is Attack on Titan.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You know, speaking of nostalgia, Family Guy, I love it. I just love the jokes. I love what it means for the culture, and just, how we as millennials kind of see comedy. Just very, nothing was sacred in Family Guy, and that's kind of how how a lot of millennials see the world nowadays. Nothing is sacred. Anybody can get it. Any subject matter can get it. Death Note was such a great mystery thriller, psychological thriller. And as an anime, I just had a lot of fun with it. Pokemon, same thing, just a huge part of my childhood. Who didn't have the cards? Who doesn't know who Pikachu is? Playing all the video games, watching the episodes, memorizing the Pokemon rap song, all of that. It was just, it was so vivid. Pokemon, and I just love that show a lot. Then SpongeBob, another show, not as edgy as a Family Guy, but still so strong for the culture. So much media, so many jokes, so many references have been made to SpongeBob and stuff that I enjoy
Yeah.
and find hilarious.
Memes galore in SpongeBob for sure.
Yes, memes galore, CAMPFIRESONG song. That's my stuff right there. You know, and then finally at number 6, Attack on Titan. I started watching this show in college, and I was completely just enamored by it. And it's the first manga that I actually decided to read because I couldn't get enough of the show. And that show, you know, it's an amazing story that they're telling, and I just, yeah, I enjoy it thoroughly. So yeah, that rounds up that. What about your top 5? Let's hear your top 5 now.
Okay. All right. So coming in at number 5, I have Star Wars, The Clone Wars.
Okay.
At number 4, I have Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Number 3, I have Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. At number 2, I have The Boondocks. And
okay.
at number 1, no surprise to anyone that knows me, I have Avatar The Last Airbender. Unquestionably the best cartoon, in my opinion, ever. I've seen it no less all the way through than like 8 times. It's
How many episodes is that for the people?
That's got to be at least like 60 episodes.
Woo!
like 20 minutes a piece. Yeah. Did you want me? I guess I should just expand on my list. Star Wars: The Clone Wars is a very recent watch, but I've gotten a lot more into Star Wars over like the last year or so, and it was just a really good way for me to dive deeper into the lore of Star Wars, and I really enjoyed kind of them filling the gaps in between the prequels.
Right.
And it really made a lot of the other entities in the Star Wars franchise make more sense, especially stuff like The Mandalorian. So it was a really, really good watch. Cowboy Bebop, I really love the aesthetic of it. I love the mix of jazz and space. I think it has a really, really good story. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I think, also has a really, really, really great story and a really, really great concept. I really enjoyed the show front to back. The Boondocks is almost self-explanatory. It's one of the best satires, I think, out there. And it's such a good satire that sometimes people don't even realize it's satire and they just watch it at face value because it's also entertaining at face value if they don't realize that they're actually like making fun of it. But it's a really, really good show. I'm glad it's coming back. And Avatar, I think Avatar is the show that makes me like the most nostalgic and like the most emotional because I have like the greatest emotional connection to the characters. I think it's one of the best hero's journey stories out there in animation or in live action. I think it's just a really good story from beginning to end. The mixes of martial arts and Eastern philosophy, and it's a really, really well formed, interesting world that exists. So yeah, it's a show I can never get tired of. I'll probably watch it like 6 months again for, just watch it all the way through again for whatever reason. But what's your top 5?
All right, so my top 5, coming in at number 5, we got the Boondocks. Okay. Number 4, we got South Park.
Okay.
Number 3, we got Rick and Morty.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 2, we got the Simpsons.
Okay.
And number 1, Dragon Ball Z. That's that's me.
Go ahead and expand on this list, sir, before I dive into your choices.
So the Boondocks I put at number 5 because I picked it up and I was so excited to see representation from a Black satirical standpoint and just all the things of the culture that the Boondocks represented and the way they talked about Black issues. And it's a show that I enjoyed as a kid, but as an adult, it has only gotten better. The satire makes so much more sense now. I remember there was this one episode with where they were talking about the Iraq War, and it was featuring Samuel L. Jackson and the late Charlie Murphy as two white dudes playing two white dudes. And Samuel L. Jackson yelling like he normally does. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Just because you have, just because you have evidence that something doesn't exist doesn't mean you don't have evidence that something does exist. And how that was an allusion to the Iraq War and the justification for getting into it. It was just brilliant. And
Oh
Aaron
wow. Yeah, I never
McGruber
thought about
was
that.
just
Yeah.
it was so like, and how he was just saying and talking about stuff at that point in time. And so me as an adult understanding it, I'm like, wow, this show had a lot of depth. And then South Park, they've been doing satire with, for the longest, and they touch on everything, man. And just me and my third, fourth, fifth grade friends just talking about South Park and just like reminiscing on the different things that all the controversial stuff that they talk about. Was so they are something else. Those creators are something else. And then Rick and Morty, number 3 for me. It would be higher, but because I got into it as an adult, it's not. And my top 2 are based on nostalgia, but I love me some Rick and Morty, man. Their intergalactic adventures and escapades that center around a suburban family is just hilarious to me. And the way that they legitimately tackle both ends of that, where you have them going on these interstellar adventures, moving through dimensions, space and time, talking about cosmic philosophy as well as cosmic horror themes that I've seen somebody else break down on the channel Wisecrack. But then going into, the struggles of what it's like to be a father that is kind of stupid, for lack of a better word, and whose wife is clearly more educated and ambitious than him, and, a son in Rick, and, a rebellious teenager in their daughter Summer. And just that whole juxtaposition is hilarious to me, and the way they blend the two is always a good time. The Simpsons is one of the first cartoons that I really started enjoying, and it's again one of those things that has only gotten better with time. I watch a bunch of reruns. There's hundreds upon hundreds of episodes. I haven't seen them all, but at least my early days watching Fox 5 all the time, 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, I was there watching The Simpsons. It was reliable, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, again, as an adult, a lot of the jokes hit so much better now, and it's so much more interesting to watch. Especially, I remember watching an episode about when Homer went to New York and got a ticket there, and just how annoying it is to be in New York and be in Times Square. And this is New York during a period of time where like it was still not cool to be in New York, but it was always good at talking about the culture and just talking about current events and doing it in a funny, interesting way. And then finally, Dragon Ball Z. This is pure nostalgia. From the opening song with the heavy metal intro, it just captured my imagination as a 5-year-old kid, and I was so hyped. I remember being so excited every single day to come back home to watch another episode of Dragon Ball Z on Toonami at 6:30 p.m. Like, I remember all the times and all the lineups. I was so hyped, man. That was my childhood. And just also understanding the characters. You have your Gokus, who is kind of he's always in it for the challenge, and then you have characters like Vegeta that are so prideful and just learning how to cope and be in a world where someone is legitimately going to be better than you, and it doesn't matter what your background or your heritage is, you have to earn everything. and then identifying with a Gohan, me being around the same age as Gohan as he's growing up through the series, so you kind of see the events from his eyes and his perspective, and me really identifying with him. um him, his father dying all these times and someone else raising him, me and my father passing away at a young age. I just kind of identified with characters like that, and I can see that now as an adult, but that's not something I could see as a kid. So this rounds out my top 10, and it's in my heart as pretty much my favorite show of all time because of what it meant to me and the excitement that I had, and just the way it just captured my imagination.
Yeah, I feel that, bro. It has a lot of nostalgic value for me as well. It's just, I guess it's just rewatchability for me. Like it can be a
Yeah.
tough rewatch because like
Yeah.
sometimes the fights will take like 20 episodes, and that's not an exaggeration. Like, they'll literally spend a whole episode just talking, and
Yeah.
then it'll be like, next time on Dragon Ball Z. And then it's just like a continuation of like the same thing. But I get it. I have so much love for Dragon Ball Z just for what it meant, because little me didn't care. Like I was glued to the TV, whether they were just like talking or posturing about what they were gonna do and what everything meant. It's just an iconic show. You gotta love the classic characters, the classic reactions. Like I wonder how much time did they spend in an episode like where a character is surprised by something and they do that same thing, like where they're like they stare off and they're just like like that reaction must take up at least like 30% of Dragon Ball Z time.
Yeah.
But
Vegeta getting punched in the gut.
it can't be. Oh, it's power. But like, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. I'm glad we were able to share these lists with each other. I think that some people will dismiss cartoons because of the childlessness of it, but there's a lot of value in animation, and there's certain things that you can do in animation that you can't do in live action. So I have a lot of
Yeah.
love for these shows for the impact that they had and the stories that they were able to tell.